Hi, I'm Don Swigger from tvformyrv.com. Today we're going to take a look at changing out an older modified sine wave inverter with a new Evolution Series pure sine wave inverter from Samlex. One of the main reasons that we're doing this upgrade is the older modified sine wave inverters don't do a real good job with inductive loads like motors. So in the past, your microwave, your residential refrigerators and so forth may not really like the output from a modified sine wave inverter. The new Evolution Series pure sine wave inverter from Samlex is a state-of-the-art, latest generation, high-efficiency inverter, and it's excellent for powering all those types of loads. Previously in this coach, we had installed this modified sine wave inverter, but we did not include the microwave in the inverter circuit. We did install a sub panel for the output from the inverter, and we powered all of the interior outlets and the entertainment center and so forth from the inverter, but we did not power the microwave. Now with the pure sine wave inverter that we've got today, we're going to go ahead and move the microwave over and make provisions down the road, possibly for a residential refrigerator. In the box with the inverter is a quick start guide, very large and very thick owner's manual with lots of information in it, way beyond just the standard installation information. If there's anything that you wanted to know about inverters and inverter technology, batteries and so forth, this is an excellent resource. Also in the box are the connectors for the optional connections to the remote start, remote control, or a remote on-off switch, and also some crimp connectors to go in the AC terminals. An optional accessory for the Evolution Series inverters is the EVO RC remote control. The remote control unit allows you to have access to all the internal programming parameters, to be the ability to see the status of the inverter and all the different voltages and currents applied, and will even do error logging should the need arise. In my opinion, it is not an optional accessory. This is pretty much the business end of the inverter. You have your two connections here for the battery, your two input connections for your external solar charge control. Over here we have three openings for your AC box connectors. These are plugged to keep the dirt out. We'll remove those here in a minute and put the box connectors in. You have a place to plug in your battery temperature sensor and also the remote control unit. These three optional connections would be used for a signal to your remote generator start. You can have an external remote on and off power switch, and also a 12-volt output that would be used possibly for an indicator light remotely. This is the access panel opening to get access to the AC connections. We'll go ahead and remove this cover. Another unique feature to the Evolution Series inverters is the fact that they have complete transfer switch capabilities. So you can control not only a line input, but also a generator input. And then you can switch that to and from the output under a pre-programmed control. So in a situation where you have, say, a 30 amp RV and you don't have a generator yet, but you'd like to install a generator and an inverter at the same time, this is an excellent choice and will save you some cost in the long run. We're going to remove the safety covers from the battery connections so that we can get access to the post when we take it into the RV. In the interest of time in the video, we've already done the work in the AC distribution panel. We've already run the new control cables for the inverter control, and we've already run the new battery temperature sensing cable. Keep in mind these inverters are very heavy, so you'll need to have some kind of support to hold it in place while you're fastening it to your support structure. It doesn't matter what attitude that you mount the inverters. They can be cables up, cables down, horizontal, vertical. It really doesn't matter. The main consideration is that they're dry and that there's no possibility of other items or objects falling down through the cooling fans and getting in and shorting something out internally. The next thing we're going to do is install the inverter in here on this plywood panel that's already been installed. All the cables have been run. Okay, the inverter's mounted on the mounting board, and now we're connecting the large battery cables to the battery posts on the inverter. These are quad-aught welding cables, so they're rather stiff and bulky, and they do need to be securely fastened to the terminal posts. Now that the cables are installed, we'll put the safety covers back in place. We also need to connect up an earth ground to the inverter compartment. This bonds the chassis of the inverter to the earth ground or the frame ground in the motorhome. Here we're installing the connections from the solar charge controller into the external charge input on the inverter. These inputs are monitored by the inverter charger so that we don't overcharge the batteries when we are connected both to the line and have solar power. We've connected up the battery temperature sensor, and now we're going to connect the cable for the remote controller. And at this point, all of the connections to the inverter side are finished. And so now we're going to come in and install the new control panel. That comes with an installation cutout template. The new panel is slightly larger in width than the old one, so we're just going to make some marks here. One of the easiest ways to cut this paneling that I've found is to use a vibrating multi-cutting tool. Okay, we've cut out the opening, so we'll make sure it fits, and it fits in there very nicely. So now the only thing we have to do is fish the wire up from the inside and get it out to plug into the back. Okay, this is the data cable that the other end is plugged into the inverter down in the basement. So we'll plug it into the back of the control panel, put the extra cable down in the hole. Using the 4 small screws supplied, we'll go ahead and fasten this to the wall. They are pretty small, so you don't want to strip them out if you use a power tool. The control panel is now installed and connected, so we're going to go down to the battery box and give us some power. All the cables are connected at the inverter end, and we're just about ready to apply power here at the battery compartment. One thing you do want to make sure when you're working in a battery compartment like this is that you take safety into consideration. Remove all watches and jewelry. If you can't get your jewelry off, make sure you cover it with tape, and wrap your wrenches in tape anywhere that you can to prevent an accidental short. An inverter like this is a very high amperage application. You need special fuses in place. Samlex makes these very nice battery post connections that use a cartridge type fuse available from 100, 200, or 300 amp sizes. They're also available in either a single cable connection or a dual connection. And in our case, we're going to use a dual connection. We're going to use a 100 amp on one terminal for the house batteries and a 300 amp fuse on the second terminal for the inverter. We're going to connect up the house battery. And you may see some initial arcing and sparking when you connect this stuff up, that there's certain things that have current draw. Now we're going to connect up the inverter, and oftentimes the inverter will arc and spark because when the input capacitors are empty when you get it out of the box, and there's an initial current surge till those input capacitors fill up. The inverter is all connected to the AC and the DC, so we'll go into the control panel and check out some of the parameters. When you first install your Samlex Evolution inverter charger, the settings that are default by the factory will work in 99.99% of the cases. There's almost no reason that you would have to change anything for reasons that would cause damage from the default settings. However, a lot of us like to play with and get the absolute most performance out of our systems, and that's why the Evolution controller is such a necessity in this case, because that gives you the ability to go in and change almost every conceivable parameter inside the inverter charger. One of the first things that you'll notice once you get everything connected and you have power coming in from the line input The inverter will automatically go into charging mode, and what this is telling you right now, it's in charging mode, it's in normal charging mode, and it's up to the constant voltage point. The 3-state charger will start in constant current, that is the bulk rate. Then it goes to constant voltage, which is absorption. And then when it reaches full charge, it will go to float stage, which we can see later. The flashing status symbol indicates that the charger, the inverter, is basically online, ready to go. It is monitoring the input power, and if your input power would drop at this point, the inverter will automatically kick on and transfer your inverter loads to the inverter within 16 milliseconds. When you first power it up, one of the things that you'll need to do is to set the time. So to enter any of the setting menus, you press the enter button once, and then you can use the up or down buttons to go through the different groups, and time setting happens to be one of the functions. When you're in the time setting menu, the enter key will advance you between the different positions that you can change. You can use the up and down arrows to change the individual settings, and when you have the date and time the way you want it, you push and hold this enter button. It will say write success, and now the time has been set. We've shown the basic steps to install a new inverter charger or replace and upgrade an existing inverter charger in your RV. Another video will go over the advanced concepts and features and programming features of the Samlex Evolution Series inverter chargers. If you're looking to install a new inverter charger or replace and upgrade an existing inverter charger in your RV, be sure to check out the Evolution Series inverters from Samlex.